All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on something that shapes pretty much your entire online experience. We're going to decode those digital footprints we all leave behind and get into what web analytics is all about.
You know that feeling, right? Where an ad pops up for something you were just talking about, or a website just seems to know exactly what you're looking for next. So what's going on? Is it magic or, just a little bit creepy? Well, let's find out what's really happening behind the screen. Okay, so to solve this mystery, we need to start thinking like a digital detective. And the number one tool in our detective kit? It's something called web analytics. I know. Web analytics sounds super corporate and a little dry. But here's a better way to think about it. It's basically the science of gathering clues. It's about looking at all the digital fingerprints that visitors leave behind on a website. And the whole point isn't just to collect data, it's to figure out how to make the website better for everyone who uses it.
So yeah, forget all the mind-reading stuff. This is way less mysterious than it seems. It's really just about piecing together the story of what a user does. Every single click, every scroll, every second they spend on a page, it's like a breadcrumb. Analytics is just the tool that lets us follow that trail and see what story it tells.
And every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a structure. In the world of analytics, we call this the user's journey. And if you can understand this journey, you can pretty much unlock what's happening on any website out there.
This whole journey really boils down to 4 key questions. Think of them as the 4 main chapters of the story. First, acquisition. How did people even get here? Second, audience. Who are these people? Third, behavior. What did they do once they arrived? And finally, conversion. Did they accomplish the goal? If you can answer these 4, you're well on your way. So let's open up Chapter 1, Acquisition. This is all about answering that first big question. How did people find the website in the first place? Did they type it into a search engine? Did they click a link on social media? Or maybe they saw an ad. For any business, this is absolutely crucial because it tells them which of their marketing efforts are actually bringing people in the door.
Okay, next up, Chapter 2, Audience. So once they've arrived, who are these visitors anyway? Analytics can help paint a picture. It gives us general, anonymous info like their age range, where in the world they are, and even what they're generally interested in based on their online habits.
And this is where you can find some really surprising clues. See, a business might think it knows its customers inside and out, but their online audience can be a totally different crowd. Like in this chart here, you can see their online visitors are actually a whole decade younger than their typical in-store shoppers. An insight like that can literally change a company's entire strategy.
All right, so we know who's visiting and how they found the site. Now for the really juicy part. What do they actually do once they're here? It's time to start decoding the on-site clues.
And that brings us to Chapter 3, Behavior. This is where we see the plot unfold. We're tracking what people are actually doing. Which pages are they flocking to? Are they clicking on that big Buy Now button? Are they spending time watching the important videos? It's all about understanding what they're engaging with.
But wait a minute. That's the big question, isn't it? It feels like all this is happening behind some kind of digital curtain. How is a website actually tracking all this information?
Well, it all happens in the blink of an eye, really. The moment you land on a web page, a little piece of code runs in the background. That code places a tiny data file onto your browser, and then that file sends anonymous info about your visit, like what you clicked or how long you stayed, back to an analytics tool to be analyzed. And that small data file? Yep, that's the famous or infamous cookie. We've all heard the term a million times, right? But it's not a scary program or anything. It's literally just a tiny text file. Its main job is to help a website remember things about your visit, like keeping you logged in, or just recognizing that you've been there before.
So, we've followed the trail of clues from the moment a user arrives all the way through their on-site actions. Now we get to the climax of the story, the final chapter. Did they do what the website owner was hoping they would?
And that brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important chapter, conversion. A conversion is just a fancy word for when a visitor actually completes a desired action or a goal. This is the bottom line. It's the ultimate measure of whether a website is actually working.
And a goal can be pretty much anything. For an online store, the main goal is obvious, making a sale. But for another kind of site, it might be getting someone to download a brochure or sign up for a free trial, or even just fill out a contact form.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. This is where the rubber meets the road, because we've got all this data, all these clues from the 4 chapters of the user's journey. But data by itself is kind of useless if you can't turn it into a real-world decision.
So let's put on our detective hats one last time and solve a classic case. The data shows that people are loving the products. They're adding stuff to their shopping cart like crazy. But then, poof, they vanish. Very few of them are actually finishing the purchase. So where are we losing them?
And boom, here's our smoking gun. We can visualize this process as a funnel. We start with 100% of the people who added an item to their cart. But look at that massive drop-off. We go from 60% of people starting the checkout all the way down to just 30% when it's time to enter payment info. We found the leak.
The insight here is crystal clear. Something about that payment step is a major roadblock. So the solution is to fix it. Maybe the shipping costs are a surprise, or the form is just way too complicated. By improving that one single step in the journey, a business can fix that leak and see a huge improvement in results.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. Good web analytics isn't about spying on people. It's about listening. It's about listening at a massive scale to what thousands of users are telling you with their actions. It's about finding the parts of their experience that are frustrating and making them better. So, let's wrap this up. Here are the key things to remember. Web analytics is really just telling the story of the user journey. It does that by answering those 4 key questions: acquisition, audience, behavior, and conversion. And the whole point of knowing that story is to make smarter decisions that lead to better websites for all of us.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Through the language of data, our websites are talking to us. They're telling us what works, what's broken, and what people really want. The only question left is, are we listening?